is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Briggs. I'm the Client Implementation Manager here at Transfinder, and it is my honor and pleasure to be co-presenting today with Antonio Civitella, also known as Civi, also known as Tony from time to time. We are excited to bring you part 3 of a 4-part webinar series that we've been doing for you. We've talked about a lot of different topics, and we're excited to go further into some of our products, Routefinder PLUS, Stopfinder, and also Wayfinder here as well. Before we get started, Tony, did you want to share any insight or any words to our group listening today?
Well, I think I just want to thank everyone for joining us again. It's our third one, right? This is great, right? It's our third one, which is 3 is a charm, right? Speaking of charm, Briggs, of course, and by the way, we're socially distanced here. We're at least a good 6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of charm, Briggs, just want to let everybody know it is St. Valentine's Day this Sunday. So if you haven't head out to your local place where you buy your greeting cards, make sure you get something. And go get a card. And my wife already made sure to let me know that. Don't wait till it's Saturday because you're gonna have barely anything to pick from. So just give you guys a reminder. But can I just add one thing before we get started here? I know we got a huge, it's our third show here. I just want to say something that my mother-in-law would always say to me. And that's actually one of her things. She always say about, and I think it's applicable. So she always says that l'amore non è bella se non è litigarella. So John, I just want to just share that with the crew, and I just want to make sure you guys know what it's about.
Right. And my 8 years of Spanish didn't really help me with that one, Tony, but I'm sure you have nothing but good intentions, so thank you.
Oh, I guess you want to know what it means, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty simple. And I think this really, it's not just l'amore means love, but it also could just mean with everybody, even in your team there in your office. Love is not beautiful if there's any little argument. So you need a little argument to make love even better. So just remind yourselves that it's okay. It's okay to have disagreements. That's what makes love even nicer. So just want to make sure you know that. So I'm taking way too much time here, but let's get the show on the road.
It'll take a little bit more time. So we're always about saving time, saving money. Remember, February 15th, hit up your CVS, hit up your Dwayne Reed, get those 50% off chocolates. That's where we save money.
Yeah, the day after. That's good.
All right. So again, part 3 of the 4-part webinar, talking about a lot of different products today. Let's get into it. And as we get started here, just a reminder too, you're going to hear Tony and myself throughout today's presentation, but you're not going to be able to share your own voice. That doesn't mean you can't communicate with us though. You can. There is a questions panel within GoToWebinar where you can submit questions, and all of us are monitoring those questions as we continue on here. So feel free to drop us those as the presentation goes on. We may answer some of them during the presentation. More than likely, though, we'll save them to the end. We should have some extra time towards the end to answer questions. All right, all of that housekeeping being said, let's talk about Routefinder PLUS. If you've been in on any of the 2 previous webinars that we've done, you'll probably know some things about Routefinder PLUS, but for those of you who have not heard about PLUS, here are some considerations to keep in mind. We give you the ability to create planned trips, so you can utilize your local knowledge and incorporate and bake in your district policies, and you're going to see that come to life in just a few moments. We give you the ability to plan with safety as the highest priority, so you can prohibit student crossing. You can also restrict travel on dangerous roads altogether. So keeping those students safe, that is always going to be our #1 goal for you. And finally, incorporating the most up-to-date student information. So what we're going to do is, if you had any experience with Routefinder Pro, we typically establish a nightly import. We get the most up-to-date information from your student information system, and that comes into Routefinder PLUS. So when you come in the morning, turn on your computer and open up this beautiful browser-based solution, you'll have the most up-to-date student information at your fingertips.
So one thing I want to add, Briggs, John, right? We want to really been talking about this new terminology. It's called AIO, artificial intelligence optimization. So Plus has this beautiful optimization functionality, and it's really state of the art. And why this thing works better than anything else out there is because it really takes your local knowledge, just like what John just mentioned of how you could bake all this information. I tell you, a lot of you, I know you're experimenting already, you're ready to get some feedback. I think it's really one of the features that we're promoting, and we're really just getting a lot of feedback from our clients. And I've been really looking forward to the day that we had a full optimization solution right in our system, and it's obviously here. But I love your feedback from clients that already have that. Please send us feedback, what you think, how it's really learning from you, because again, you're baking in your local information. So I just want to push that out there about that product.
And that's actually a perfect segue, Tony, because we're going to talk about what happens once you put that information in the system. What happens once you create that trip that has existed in your system or in your operation for the last 10 or 15 years? What can you do with that information? And that's what we're going to hit on today. All right, as I mentioned, Routefinder PLUS is a browser-based solution. So it's going to look a little bit different if you have Routefinder Pro experience, but different is not a bad thing in this case. You can see the map canvas on the primary part of your screen here. On the left-hand side is the routing palette. So you have the ability to open up different palettes and manipulate different data as you are going through Routefinder PLUS. But again, we're talking about today, what happens when you input that trip? What can you do here? So let's take a look at a particular example. So same map canvas, same routing palette, but we have two trips open now. We have 200 p.m. and 201 p.m. Now these trips have existed in the district for the last 10 years, and we've put them in there just as they've always been. But as we know in 2020, and especially in 2021, as we keep changing, our trips need to change as well. So why don't we put in what we know, which is our travel scenarios, which is our district policies, and let's have Routefinder PLUS come up with the best version of our trips possible. And that's what we're going to show you here with trip optimization. So again, two trips showing up here. Let's make the best of them with those district policies and travel scenarios baked in.
So for all of you that have Plus already, remember there's new versions coming out, I think like every couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. There's a new version you'll be seeing soon. That's again a lot of feedback from you guys that when you have multiple tabs open, we are now going to start showing you the name of the data source, which is a huge, like wow, how do we not have that in there? Just a reminder, you have your pro data, we convert it to Plus. Make a copy of it, like you know how to make copies, and go nuts. Have some fun with optimization. You're not messing up with your live data, but just again, have some fun. This is where we really want you to experiment. And by the way, I've heard it so many times. Parents are more forgiving today. You know, they really are. They're more forgiving. If there's a time to experiment, this is a time to experiment, because parents are a lot more forgiving. Especially, if you don't get it just exactly right, but man, go for it, experiment.
And actually, we're going to show you an example of how you can maintain your data and still see what an optimized trip looks like, which is pretty cool.
I just want to tell you, of course, I'm talking a lot about optimization, and here's a question that comes right out of our school principal. Doesn't need a full routing solution to do and see what. So obviously, I don't want you to think that it is that you need a full routing solution like the optimization I'm talking about. I'm talking about those clients been with us for a long time. Press the button. It's not required. You don't have to press the optimization button. You can still build the routes like we've been talking about for decades. But I'm just bringing this up. So good. Thank you for bringing that up, one of the viewers just said that. It's like, hey, no, I don't need all that stuff. Does that mean no? I'm just going a little bit ahead of myself with those clients been with us for years. All right, cool.
All right, let's keep plugging along here. So within the routing palette, you can choose the option to optimize the trips. You can select the trips that you want to improve upon or make better on the right-hand side. You see that? And then finally, we give you the opportunity to see how much of an improvement that we can make. So anything that's listed in green here is obviously an improvement. So the two things that are standing out to me and should stand out to you would be the improvements in time and the improvements in distance as well. So with these two trips optimized, we've actually brought down the amount of time for the trips by 22 minutes, or that's an improvement of 1/3. For distance, we've actually brought it down almost a mile, so 3% improvement. But again, time is really of the essence. If you're experiencing driver shortages, the shorter your trips can be, that frees up those same drivers to then start other trips as well. So optimization is going to be huge for those people experiencing driver shortages. And I mentioned, if you want to see a preview of this without applying these changes, that's what the open in a new map canvas option gives you. So let me show you what that looks like. If you choose that, we open up in a brand new tab. So everything that you've worked for and everything that you've done is still maintained in that original tab. But now we have a new map canvas that opens up. You can see what those optimized trips look like. And you also have an indicator next to each trip name in the routing palette that shows you these trips are read-only, meaning you're not going to be making any changes to them. This is simply the results that occurred because of the optimization. If you like what you see, you can then go back to your original tab, apply those changes, and carry on with your day. As Tony said, go in here, have fun, and see what's possible. Because just because you've been doing something for the last 5 or 10 years doesn't mean it's already the best version it can be. We can help you see potentially better trips and implement better trips too.
So I every once in a while I get all excited when we have these webinars, and there was a webinar a couple weeks ago. We had one of our rock stars that does webinars, and she did map editing, and of course we did a lot in map editing, and of course all the travel scenarios that's baked into our system. So I wanted to just see how that was, and I tell you, I highly recommend you guys to make sure, and those are free webinars, by the way. Just get on there, and I think it was about an hour, and I think it was Katie, and she did such a great job. She went through the whole how you set up these routing scenarios, and she actually made a reference on how the routes could actually change based on the morning and afternoon. So really nice stuff. So if you're gonna press the button and you get like, what's up with that? Why is it doing that? Well, maybe you need a little bit of some refreshers on how these travel scenarios work. We have tons of information about that. Clearly, we're making a big deal about it, but I don't want you to think that's the only way to do it. You can still build your routes the old-fashioned way, which that still works perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony. And actually, I wanted to mention my role again as client implementation manager. So I'm seeing people adopt Plus for the first time. We have a client in Arkansas that specifically signed on to Plus because they wanted the ability to add in these tabs to get the preview of what the optimization looks like. They knew that 2020 and 2021 were going to bring trip changes, and they wanted to be ahead of the game. So just one example of how it's being used and why someone saw value in using Routefinder Plus.
And I also want to remind, and of course we have various type of clients on this call here. We're seeing a huge uptick in prospects that want to see our products now because of what we have to offer, because we do have the optimization, because they do see, hey, we want to be able to go a little bit above and beyond just a regular routing system. They want to go above and beyond. And I tell you, this is where there's a significant uptick. The past 6 months, we've had record amount of people want to see our solution. So thank you for all of you that actually have spent the time and actually saw our solution. And of course, thank to all of you that also helped us have a record amount of clients also come on board. So it's, again, I keep saying this is, John, I keep saying this is the year. If you're going to experiment now. Parents are a lot less forgiving because of everything's going on. And all right.
All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about, we talked a little bit about trip optimization. Let's talk about optimizing the sequence of a trip. So a lot of clients are saying, you know, we create a trip on Monday, all of a sudden it had 13 stops on Monday. On Tuesday, it only has 7 stops. So we're adding and removing stops on a regular basis. Let's show you what Routefinder PLUS can do when it comes to optimizing the sequence of a trip. When those changes occur, whether adding or removing stops, how can we make this trip the best version it can be? So let's use 1:24 a.m. as an example. You can see some of the statistics on this. It's got 11 stops, 23 minutes, and 5.97 miles currently. But just like optimizing trips, we can go and we can choose the option to optimize the sequence, highlight the trip there, and drum roll please. Once we process that, our 11 stops now come down to 12 minutes from 23, and instead of 5.97 miles, we're at 4.3
It's
miles
awesome.
as well.
And you know something? I think I said less forgiving. I didn't mean it that way. They're more forgiving. So these are the type of things, go for it. You know, yeah, you're gonna tweak some times around. Sorry, Mr. Civitella, your son's gonna be picked up 5 minutes earlier. All right, well, you know, considering everything, it's not that bad. So more forgiving. I'm not sure what I think I just said less forgiving. It's like, no, they're significantly more forgiving because of everything. So press that optimize sequence. Go for it. Because if you do have a savings, and you know, the bad news is not that bad today, because maybe some people have earlier stop time and maybe some later stop time. And normally, like, you would never dare doing this in February. You would do this, like, you know, give them the bad news in August. But I'm telling you, it's okay. They're significantly more forgiving. Try it out. So cool.
Another example I'll give in terms of a client that's implementing, we have a client in southern New York, so right above New York City, that some people don't realize how close that is to Pennsylvania. So they actually had stops and trips that went into Pennsylvania from New York. And so they were adding, removing as they needed to, and they wanted to figure out what's the best path to get through all of this. So they were using the optimized sequence tool to do that. We've talked about the phrase baking in, and I've talked a little bit about travel scenarios, so you can put your preferences based on time of day, type of trip that's going out or coming back. District policies also come into play. If you've used Routefinder Pro in the past, these will be familiar to you. You can create load times based on specific grades. And again, if you have 4 kindergartners that are being assigned to a stop on a trip, you can see their current load time is 10 seconds. So that means 40 seconds would automatically be added on to the trip stop time. You don't need to remember how many seconds and then multiply that in your head and then put that manually into the system. We do that for you. We also utilize disability codes for load times. So a lot of options there. One other example I'll give you, ride time. Let's take a look at that. Many districts that we work with have specific rules in place that say, we don't want students being on the bus for more than 60 minutes or 75 minutes. Well, if you have a student that's exceeding 60 minutes based on these district policies, when you are working on the trip in the routing palette, you'll actually see an indicator that says you are outside of your district policies. So it gives you an indicator that says, hey, there's something that could be a little off on this trip. Now, you can still save it if it's a one-off situation, but at the very least, we wanted to make you aware you have this outlier here. Let's address this.
And of course, if you use an optimization functionality, it will not let it do that. So it will actually not get those kids assigned. And if there's no possible way you can get a kid, and if you, we know it, you guys have those kids living so far out there, there's no way you could get a kid assigned to a stop and get him to school that's within that time restriction. Guess what? In the optimization feature, that kid's gonna will remain unassigned, which means the blue dot, and you guys know the whole story about the blue dot, then you could just have to manually do this. There's so many options. That I mentioned, I'm asking people to experiment.
I think a little bit, but it
All
wouldn't
right.
help to keep that
All
message going.
Cool.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about Plus, making those changes, implementing those changes. It's one thing to establish change, it's another thing to inform the public and inform your staff about those changes too. So something we'll talk about in just a moment here will be how to do both of those things. So let's first talk about informing parents and informing the community of changes, and that's done through Stopfinder. Again, if you've been on our first 2 webinars as part of this 4-part series, we've talked a little bit about Stopfinder. That conversation is going to continue today, and if you're not familiar with Stopfinder, here are some considerations. It's a parent app that's used to track student bus assignments, and it is calendar-based, just like Routefinder PLUS. You can have customizable Geo Alerts that will notify users when the bus is in range, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that here. And then finally, announcements can be sent to specific groups of parents and guardians. We're going to give you real life examples and actually talk about some of the more recent updates and upgrades that we've made as it pertains to announcements. So really exciting stuff. On the left-hand side, you can see an example of a push notification that can be sent out to parents and guardians. As I mentioned a moment ago, Stopfinder is calendar-based. One of the things that you have as being a part of a school district or a contractor, you have full control over what the community sees. And let me give you an example here. We are in February and we're getting close to March. Hopefully we're getting close to spring. And what that means is we're getting ready for the upcoming school year. You're formulating trips. What could things look like based on students being promoted a grade ahead? Now, when you start working on those trips, that's not something you necessarily want to share with parents and guardians right away. So what we've done is we've implemented active dates. If something is not active during a particular date, it's not going to appear in the Stopfinder app for parents. You can see on the example that we have on the screen here, the test data source, that is active. So that's what's going to be shown to parents and guardians via the Stopfinder app. On the left-hand side, you can see the calendar. All you would need to do is tap on a particular day and you can see the assignment on that given day. If your student has a different assignment Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, each time you tap on that respective day, you will see that respective schedule.
Listen, a lot going on with Stopfinder. This is a product that is just, it's about 1.5 years old at this point, and we have so many features. We are about to release 2.6. What's the importance of 2.6? It's multilingual option. Right now it's English, French for our Canadian friends that are with us, and Spanish, of course. So those are 3 languages. We're getting so much feedback about the time range in our Geo Alerts, and of course, what is Geo Alerts? I know it's like we're inventing these terminology. The Geo Alerts are those, and I know John is going to be showing that, but it's those areas that you draw on your map. Again, parents will do that to be alerted. It's almost like these alarms and like alarm clock. But we'll talk. By the way, there's a question came out. It's like, hey, they have exceptions. Why they're not showing up in Stopfinder? They should. So Beth, I'm not really sure why you're not seeing exceptions show up on Stopfinder, but definitely exceptions. So you probably still have Pro. So exception definitely show in Stopfinder, and of course Plus is there's no such thing as exceptions anymore. It's just called the schedule. So Beth, we'll figure out why you're not seeing that. All right.
All right, so the questions are coming up more about the languages, and actually I'll talk about that in just a moment.
Someone just asked about, could you have English and Spanish between household? Definitely, it's all based on the username. So once your mom could have a different username, mom could have the English version, and then dad, because we're gonna use a different username, so it follows as you log in from one device to another. So just keep that in mind. So good question. Sorry.
That's okay. So let's carry over the example we were talking about with Routefinder PLUS. You're optimizing 2 trips in a particular neighborhood, and through the Stopfinder admin site, you want to identify the students and the households that are affected by that and send them a directed message informing them of those changes. We can do that via what we call Geosearch within our Stopfinder admin site. So here's an example of a screenshot. We have all of our students in the district on the right showing up on the map, and we have a grid of their names on the left-hand side. Using the Geosearch option, you're able to highlight a particular area within the map, and you are now, if I carry over, once you select that area, you are now going to see a list of just those students and just those households. So you can see on the left-hand side, only 669 households or students fall into that area out of 4,438. So now we have the area that's being affected, and now we have our list of students and parents that we can send the message to.
You know, this is an example we always show, of course, with this. I just want to make sure everybody knows it's not just the area the kids live. You could do this on stops. You could do it on, and this happens many times. Again, we're learning so much from all of you that what if a bus breaks down in the middle of the trip, which is crazy, right? So now you want to notify the remaining stops that you've not addressed yet. Easily you could just do that, whether it's the grid side, you can just right click and send messages, or go on a map and say maybe only half of those stops are going to be affected. There's so many ways you could do this, and extremely powerful. Again, the look and feel of Stopfinder looks like all of our other products. Looks like Viewfinder, of course, looks like Plus. That's been our goal, to make sure they all look the same. And stay tuned on how you go from one app to another, and it just happens. Because people are saying, I'm in Plus, I want to be able to send a message. Stay tuned how we're going to have this new option called Open In, and wow, cool stuff. So a lot going on. I hope you guys are keeping up.
All right, so we select all of the students in this list, and we say, let's send out a new announcement.
Rich is saying he's having audio issues. Anyone else having audio issue that he's saying that he's missing when we're talking? So Rich, I'm not really sure if there's something on our side. I think if some other people are having the same issue, I'm sure you guys will let us know that, but I want to interrupt. Sorry about that. And good. Beth said you could hear us. And while we're on this stuff, by the way, yes. Geo Alerts means we got to see the bus move. If you don't have GPS, you don't get to see the Geo Alerts. So that's a whole nother story. But yes, you need GPS on your buses in order for the Geo Alerts to do its magic. All right, cool.
All right, an example of an announcement here. The example showing on the screen is about a bridge being out, but again, this can be an announcement on trip optimization and the changes that are being made. Let them know that they're going to receive more information on updated times, maybe even updated locations, because the stops could move between trips as well. So a lot of different options here. If you really hit a home run in terms of the messaging of this, and you want to remember this forever and maybe use this in the future, you can save this announcement too and bring it back whenever it's applicable. All right, so question came up in the chat about, can individual users have their own language settings? The answer is yes to that. So you have one primary subscriber, and then they can set sub-subscribers within Stopfinder, and each user upon login, as you can see on the screen here, has the option to choose their own language. So we can have one subscriber with English and their sub-subscriber with Spanish or French.
Cool. And you know, before you jump to the next screen, because I have a feeling I know what's gonna come next, right? Oh, really? This is all part of the communication piece, and everything we talked about is communication. Just a reminder out there, there's so much going on. And by the way, stay tuned for even more functionality. How do you actually get some more feedback from parents? It's coming strong, and maybe I'm giving you a little too much of a hint, and everyone's like, oh, what is it, right? And maybe by the end of the session, maybe I'll explain something. But we're offering the communication piece of Stopfinder at no cost to you. So this is available to prospect and clients. Take advantage of it. You can experiment. It's at no cost to you. So get this thing installed. You could play with it. It's valid till June 30th. Then in July 1st, you can make a decision. Do you love it? Well, then maybe you want to keep it. If you don't, you make any investment in it. So I just want to remind everybody. All right?
All right. Tony, I hope you were right in your guess on what was next.
Yeah. Well, obviously at this point, you do need GPS on your buses, and that's a lot of moving parts. So this is the part that is not free, but it's exciting. A lot of our clients are moving forward with this, of course.
Geo Alerts, Tony, I love the way that you phrase, size matters when it comes to Geo Alerts. And we have two pictures that really highlight that principle. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think one of the differentiating factor here, we're really much better than a lot of products out there right now, is that we let you adjust the size and really make them small as possible, but also create as many as you want. The way I'm seeing is that, I don't know about you, but whenever, remember those days I actually would fly and go to the conferences or visit people? I almost like forgot what it felt like, right? But, if it was sometime I have to get up really early to get to the airport to get on a flight, maybe at 6 a.m. So I literally would put my alarm clock, and not just once. Again, I would use my phone. I don't know about you guys, but I just use my phone. I don't even have an alarm clock anymore. Radio, I don't even listen to the radio anymore when I wake up. So I would do set alarm like 5 minutes apart, like maybe 2 or 3, because just in case the first one went out and I just hit my phone and it snoozed it or it canceled it. Guess what? In 5 more minutes, another one's going to come out. I'm recommending you do the same kind of thing. Parents will have these alarms, these geo alerts all over the map. And now with a new functionality that's also coming out, I think it should be out this week, I believe, that parents will be able to download a new version with the multilingual option that also have the time of day. So in other words, maybe I don't want to have the alarm in the morning for that area, but not in the afternoon. So a lot of cool things here. Again, the size makes a huge difference. If you make it too big, you're going to be notified that it's arriving in your house, but it's 2 miles away. So those are really the problems with other systems, that they only let you have one, and they could tell you it's 2 miles away, but you're going to be notified when it's 2 miles away. What you want to know when it left the garage, when it's by the local convenience store. Now you have a good sense. Or maybe my son's friend, I know when he gets picked up or she gets picked up, I put a geo alert on that stop. There's just so many cool things. Again, this is the advantage of us seeing what's been out there for years, and there's some really good products out there. I'm not here to knock them down. A lot of them we recommended to many of you to actually get. They're still really good. We're just much better.
Tony, I have a confession to make. That geo alert on the left is actually mine. And I kept getting notifications anytime the bus boat kept going down the Erie Canal. So had to update it, had to make the smaller geo alert. So I learned my lesson. So thank you, Tony.
There you go.
All right.
Cool.
As you mentioned, time. There may be certain times of day that you're interested in others that aren't pertinent to you. So we are going to be giving you the ability to set a time range. Anything else you wanted to add to that, Tony, as far as time and geo alerts go?
Well, I think that's direct feedback from all of you that are using our product, because they're saying, thank you for giving us unlimited geo alert functionality, but we don't want to be notified all the time. So this has actually worked out really well. So that's, again, feedback right from all of you. And speaking of feedback, a lot of you want more feedback, not just a place where parents could just type in anything they want. You want a little more controlled. And maybe I'll just give you another hint. It's called forms. How's that? Am I teasing everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if you guys want to know more about it, send me email. I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. I'm going to do this. It's Tony. It's TONY at transfinder.com. It's the super secret, and it's just us here in this webinar. You could always send that email, and you're gonna go, "What the hell is that?" Maybe we'll have a little small conversation.
Another thing I wanted to mention too, if we have people on the line who think that they're using our products in unique ways, just another reminder, you can send them to mystory@transfinder.com as well. So mystory@transfinder.com allows you to share how you are uniquely using Transfinder's products for your district or your operation. All right, so we've talked about making those changes via Routefinder PLUS, informing the community via Stopfinder. Now let's help our own staff members via Wayfinder. Wayfinder, just some considerations again, if you haven't been a part of our webinars up to this point, allows you to simulate the trip before getting behind the wheel. Drivers have the ability to access their daily schedule, and then finally you can navigate and take attendance.
Can I tell you about simulating? It's something that started out to be really a way for us to test our product, because can I tell you, I've simulated thousands of miles from the safety of my house, nice and warm, t-shirt, and not have to worry about traffic. So it was a great testing feature, but I tell you, it's an amazing feature because now the use case of simulating is that when you're calling a driver saying, hey, Rick, we need you to drive tomorrow morning. And if Rick could actually install Wayfinder on his personal device, and you could tell him like you're going to be running this trip tomorrow morning or these trips. He could go in at home 9 p.m. Literally could go in there and simulate what that trip's going to look like, get all that information, even which kid's going to get picked up. It's not affecting the schedule, but I tell you, think about how hard it is to onboard drivers. That could be a whole nother way to say, we make it easy for drivers to onboard. Obviously, you still have to do all the training, the background check, the fingerprint, whatever you normally do. Doesn't mean you're not doing that, but a lot of drivers get intimidated. Can I tell you another thing? Talk about driving. I got to tell you, I've thousands of miles simulating, but we've also, for testing, we've done real behind the wheel. Not that long ago, I was actually, my wife was the driver. My son was the student. And of course, I gave him a stack of RFID cards. And of course, I would tell him I'm behind, I'm in the back seat, and I'm telling, my wife's got the product. It's on a stand. It's one of those cup holder, right? Right? It's on a tablet. And of course, I'm telling my son, all right, because I'm having like a different instruction, testing out different criteria. I'm telling my son to swipe a certain card. Maybe it's at that stop, or maybe it's an unplanned student that's supposed to go someplace else, or it's a student that doesn't even belong on this trip, right? I'm trying all different things. And all my wife has to do is watch the tablet and listen to the direction. And periodically they go, well, what did you just say? Like, what do you mean? They just said to turn left. And even my son's like, Mom, it said left. What's up? It's like, this is too frustrating. I'm driving. I have to listen to this thing. And plus, there's traffic. And I said, and there's one more thing that our clients have to deal with. The vehicle is not this vehicle. It's a massive vehicle. And did I mention there's kids boarding? There's kids safety. And I go, I don't think those people are getting paid. They should get paid a lot more. So I just want to give you that feeling. It's like this is too much. I'm like, I feel like I'm picking up kids, but I'm not. My son's right next to me, pretending as a kid. So I just want to share that personal story. And then she goes, they're just not paid enough. I tell you, holy cow. I mean, she's just test driving the app. Obviously, it's giving you a normal turn left, and of course, if she missed a turn, I told them that's okay. We want to test that. What happens when you miss a turn, because it's got to do a new calculation, which means going to get you back on path. And of course, we have limited time on this webinar, but it does beautiful things. It takes your same information you already have in your system and uses those algorithms. It's not going to just say, hey, ignored my path in the past. No, it's going to gravitate and get you really safe route to get back on path. So, but man, I just want to share that story with you guys.
Sorry, apparently I was muted for a second there. So wanted to share with you, you can make changes on the fly. So in the example here, you can say, hey, stop 9, not happening today. Lefts and the rights would be updated accordingly for you. Something else we wanted to mention, and this was mentioned when we first started talking about Wayfinder here, resource substitution and driver schedule. So you're able to see as a driver what you're scheduled to do on a given day. And on top of that, if you know your regular bus 10 is in the shop, we can swap out resources, maybe at bus 11 or bus 12 as well. So all of this can be done through a driver's mobile device. And then finally, the last piece we wanted to talk about is attendance. Attendance is really important in these times, especially for contact tracing. We want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date records possible. Tony, I think you call this fat finger attendance. So we give you some really big buttons here. You're able to see the students that are assigned to a particular stop. But here's the cool thing too. You can also add in students. So if you have a student that you're not expecting to have at that stop, but you need to indicate that they're there, you can simply use that add student button to indicate that they are on this given stop.
And the reason why we call it the low tech, right? The low tech, the fat finger, right? It's that you're tapping using a finger. Of course, when the driver stopped completely, we're not recommending that you use this product while you're driving. Also, there's safety features that it's in there that if you're in a state that this device needs to go dark, it does go dark. You still hear the instruction, but the fat finger works. But there's other ways you could do this. Of course, if you do invest in a whole solution that has an RFID card, and right now we're providing a full solution. We partner with Zonar to let us really put all of our solutions on their platform, and you could now buy direct from us all that hardware, but that's expensive. I don't want you to think it's that's you get a lot of things in there, but the fat finger works great. But if you use our RFID card, which is a really beautiful thing, just like John just said, you could add a student, manually add a student. Guess what? The RFID card does it for you. So if it's a student that's not planned on the stop, it comes up. And of course, the driver could say, "Hey, Billy, get out. You don't belong here." But we have pictures, we have all those indicators. So if they are using RFID cards, if you are using an RFID card, so you've made that investment really nice, but it's not required.
It's not. We give you options. You choose how to use them. Something else we wanted to mention, Tony alluded to feedback. We love hearing feedback, getting feedback. So one of the ways we're going to do that, we have a series of 2 poll questions we'd like to ask you. We have Bridget in here, if you wouldn't mind sharing those, Bridget. All right, here is our first question. First question, are you planning to implement GPS on your fleet? So a couple different options here. No, I already own GPS. Yes, and then we have some different time frames, or I don't believe I need GPS. So we're going to ask you to share your answer with us here, and we'll give you a few moments to make that selection for you. So again, are you planning to implement GPS on your fleet?
Is that actually an option? No, I don't believe I need GPS.
It is.
It's actually an option. It's possible.
All right, last call. All right, let's see these results. Let's see how we did. All right.
Wow.
So no, already own GPS. I don't believe I need. Those are the 2 leaders, but a good number of people saying yes, within the next 2 years they'll be implementing.
That's cool.
Tony, any additional insight?
I tell you, you don't believe you need GPS. I'm curious to know, some of you, again, if you don't have to send in your message box right now, but I'm curious to see, why do you think you don't need it? Because if it's because of the price, I get it, I understand. But I'm just curious. I've loved your feedback. Why a big chunk of you, like 1 out of 4 said you don't need it. I'm just curious why you would say that. Just for my own purpose, we want to learn, of course, from you guys.
Absolutely. And adding on to that, let's go to our second question. Is taking attendance on the school bus a top priority for 2021? We'll make this really easy, either yes or no. We'll give you a few moments to make that selection.
I mean, everyone's talking about attendance today. I'm hearing all the time, of course, with this contact tracing. How do you do this? Again, attendance could be the low tech. The low tech is that piece of paper that you just check off. The driver has a clipboard. So remember, attendance doesn't have to be everything we just talked about, the highly sophisticated technology, could be expensive too. It could just be the normal clipboard that we have tons of those reports that come out of our system that you can just say, yep, Billy got on today. And of course, use the same clipboard for tomorrow. And at the end of the week, you could actually enter our system. So those are all things I want to make sure that it's not just the RFID cards and all that. A lot of you don't have it.
All right, let's
Not
see.
yet.
Let's see the results. All right, pretty strong margin here between the two options. 70% of you saying yes, attendance is a top priority for 2021, with 30% saying no. We talked about contact tracing, but one of the items that's always been in existence, if the bus is involved in a traffic incident, you need to have that roster of students and see who's actually on there. A good number of the clients that we've implemented have actually said they've been able to keep track and identify the individual students that are on a given day so they can reach out to the parents and the guardians. So good to see a lot of us are taking attendance as a top priority.
Cool, that's awesome. Some people are asking, you're already responding about that question. I challenge you guys, like, why do you think you don't need GPS? Someone's saying, I might need it, but I'm not planning on getting it as an option right now. So that's a good answer. You may not need it. Again, some of you didn't have a need for it. And there's a difference between need and want, but also expectation. So I think, Diane, it's a good answer right there. That makes complete sense to me. But I think what's going on is that social media is driving a lot of the demand from parents. So I think this is going to end up happening. And of course, Dan, you talked about you're using a Samsara. They have a great, I think actually you have 20 seconds delay. We're seeing that they have some of the better than that, has about 10 seconds, which makes Geo Alerts even better on our system. So again, we work with a lot of GPS companies out there. If you guys want to know and you're looking at a product to buy, please, 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 please reach out to us first to make sure that you're going to onboard a GPS vendor that will work. That way your Geo Alerts going to work. We have a lot of GPS companies that work with us, so you have a lot of options. So just keep that in mind.
Question coming in from Kim Nadolny. Can you only send messages to user from a computer? So this is talking about Stopfinder. Can you send a message from the app?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So so we have two versions, right? So we have Stopfinder app, which is really what parents going to use. That's what parents will use, is the app. You will use a product called Stopfinder Admin, and the Admin is actually a browser product or beautifully mobile friendly. So it could be on a tablet, something like this. That's for Wayfinder, just an option. So nice and big, or it could just be on a small phones. So you could be at home with your phone and pick your kids, lasso, all the stuff that John just did, and say, let's blast a message, 6 o'clock in the morning. So you don't have to be in front of a computer. It's really, it's called responsive. It looks really nice on a mobile device. I think if you're going to do that, I would say use a tablet. But, like most of you, I do so much on this guy. I can't believe how much I do on this guy here. But I do tend to need glasses every once in a while because, I don't know about you guys, something that's going on with these devices. It's got nothing to do with that I'm getting older. It's just because
it's just
I think the
shrinking.
Apple is doing something. Like, can you make it a little bit more clear? We need to talk to Apple about that.
All right, with Stopfinder, can't the students send in messages? Also, yeah, there's an option called feedback that can be toggled on and off. So it's something that you as the district or the operation, you make the decision whether or not you want to have that interaction occur. So yeah, parents, anyone who's accessing the app on behalf of a student can send in a message, and it's known as feedback, and then you can subsequently respond to that too. So if Janet Smith won't be on the bus for the next 2 days, that the parent can drop that note, and then you can know to skip that stop for the next 2 days.
Dan, it's a good question. I don't mean to, I'm just going to first name only here. Dan, great question. Please, 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 please attend next month's session. you will find an additional way that parents could actually respond and send messages back to you. And actually, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love it. And same bat channel, same time, just a different month. March 11th instead of February 11th. So it's gonna be 4 exact weeks from now. It's, I love when it's February 28th. Every day in March is the exact same day of the week. It's always cool. So March 11th, we'll make some special announcement, Dan, about what additional. Again, if you have Stopfinder, you just get it at no cost. It's just a part of the upgrade.
Something else we wanted to mention here as well. This isn't the only webinar that Transfinder is doing today. So at 1 o'clock, we actually have another rock star, as Tony likes to call. I believe it's Kristen Alexander who will be presenting on reports and scheduled reports. So that's happening at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. On top of that, we know, hey, there's a little bit of a gap between the two times. Head to our Facebook page between our session and Kristen's session. We have some cool little features to show you and some nice links to have play along while you maybe enjoy your lunch or breakfast, depending on where you are in the country. So that's facebook.com/Transfinder. Check out our most recent post. It's got all the details in there.
Cool. And obviously, thank you for the feedback. It is being recorded. I think some of the questions, right? It is recorded. It's available. I'm guessing it's available on community. Is that would it be available for everyone? Right. Cool. So on the Plus webpage. Perfect. Good. Good. So yeah, these are good things. Good feedback. I'm really looking forward to 4 weeks from now how we're going to make a special announcement of what's going on with Stopfinder. We're changing the game again with that product. So cool stuff.
So again, 4th of 4 sessions happening a month from now, March 11th, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be on the lookout for emails that talk about the topics and the specific line items that we'll be discussing during that as well. Today, we also have a webinar at 1 o'clock. So a lot of good things going on in Transfinder land. We all know that you all are very, very busy. So anytime that you can give to us, we greatly appreciate. Thank you as always. We'll hang around a little bit longer. We have a couple minutes before 12 Eastern to answer any more questions that you may have. But for anyone else who's been hanging out through the session, feeling good about the information they've gotten today, thank you again so much for your time, and we hope to see you on a future webinar.
And happy Valentine's Day.
50% off February 15th.
Good.
That's right.
Go to 13th is better. Maybe. Good. Yeah, we get a lot of thank you from people. So thank you. You're welcome back. Thank you to you. Cool. Any other questions? I think we're good stuff here. I think we're getting the same questions over and over again, which is great. The comments are always awesome. I love to see these comments. And I think there's anything else. I think we got the time when it's the next webinar. It's our 4th. Obviously, we're going to continue this. It's our pledge to do this monthly. We're going to have different topics, but obviously this has been the trio, the Plus, Wayfinder, and Stopfinder. Those are the big three products, the 3 amigos, and we'll talk about those in 4 weeks from now. Good. I think we're anything else? Anything left?
I think we're good on questions here. Again, reach out to anyone at Transfinder, whether it's your account executive, your project manager, if you do have additional questions. But for now, I think we're going to be signing off. So thank you all for your time today, and we hope to see you on a future session.